So y'all know nowadays I don't do these post-game kind of analysis videos anymore unless something really important happens. And today I feel like something a bit notable happened. The Pacers. The Indiana Pacers, who this season were supposed to be tanking in the first place, without Miles Turner, starting center, Aaron Nesmith, starting small forward, O'Shea Brissett, backup power forward, and Tyrese Halliburton. After the third quarter, missing Tyrese Halliburton while still being down by around 20 points. And the Pacers, with that, came back almost all the way. And that's not where it ends. Not only did the Pacers make a comeback without some of their best players and the player who usually carries them in this situation, they were also down by 20 almost, around 20 for a majority of the game, and going into the fourth quarter, were still down pretty big. And on top of that, if you remember the refereeing from the 76ers game, this is basically what that was today, but worse. There were at least two times where Buddy Hield could have gotten an and 1-3, or at least not an and 1-3. There was one time where he could have gotten an and 1-3 and it wasn't called. There was another time where he missed the three. It should have been called a foul, but they didn't. Luckily, they at least gave him one and 1-3, finally. Multiple times where Ben Mathurin drove to the hoop, got smacked around by like 3 or 4 Knicks players, and they still never called anything. This has become a regular thing among good Pacers teams recently. You saw this in 2017 and 2018 with Victor Oladipo in his prime. The referees will not call anything when we play big-name teams like the Knicks. They don't call anything at all. It is getting horrendous. It is horrible. Adam Silver, I get that this is a business, but what do you have to gain from this? Like, what... I understand how this works. You know, big name teams, big name players, they're not supposed to call it like a regular, player. I mean, this has been exposed multiple times. Not that it's rigged, but that they have favorable calling towards good teams, towards big name teams, towards big name players. But even when the Pacers are good, we still don't get this treatment. Ben Mathurin doesn't get this treatment because of some old head unwritten rule about how rookies shouldn't get called fouls. Tyrese Halliburton doesn't get this treatment because the media doesn't spend enough time on him at all. They'd rather talk about Jalen Brunson getting locked up by TJ McConnell. I know you're going to say, oh, he had a 30-point game. He also played over 40 minutes and in the fourth quarter was choking the whole time. This man was getting locked up by TJ McConnell. There were like 2 or 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter that helped the Pacers come back, caused by TJ McConnell guarding Jalen Brunson. This man, who got called a all-star by Wally Zerback. Wally Zerback called Tyrese Halliburton a wannabe all-star. And then has the audacity, has the gall to say that Jalen Brunson should be an all-star after the performance that he turned in tonight in the fourth quarter with TJ McConnell guarding him. TJ McConnell, in probably his worst season so far, turned up against Jalen Brunson on both sides of the ball and utterly embarrassed and clowned him for the better part of a fourth quarter. You should be ashamed to call yourself a basketball analyst. I think my left nut has more analyst ability than you. I don't ever want to hear you call the Pacers a wannabe anything when your fraudulent franchise can barely scrape by a struggling, injured, ailed Pacers team. You barely scrape by 6 points with the help of the refs, with a 20-point lead, and multiple vital Pacers players who have led them to comebacks in the past 10+ times this year, all out. This is a disgrace to basketball. This has James Naismith rolling in his grave as we speak. The fact that the Pacers get treated like this on a nightly basis. The media is disrespectful, and the NBA as a whole is disrespectful towards this Pacers team. Give us our respect. This is getting stupid. This has been stupid. This is the way that it's been ever since I was a kid. The Pacers never get calls. They never get calls against the Knicks. They never get calls against the Heat. They never get calls against a team like Boston or Philly. It's just the way of life. And it's stupid. Goes all the way back to the 90s. Malice at the Palace, unfair suspensions all the time. Ron Artest gets suspended a whole season. What does Ben Wallace get? Like 3 games? I know the Pacers lost. And obviously that's bad. We drop in the standings. We drop behind the Knicks. We were only 1 game up on them. And when we're tied, they have the tiebreaker because both times that we faced them, we have lost most recently. And we're currently in the play-in. But if we're healthy, like, this is no doubt a win. It goes down on the loss column. Like, all this stuff is just moral victories, and it doesn't really matter. But I just think it should be noted, for any Knicks fan who wants to say anything on the Pacers, you're a clown. You're a clown. Your franchise is fraudulent. You spend big money on players who constantly underperform, and that's the way that it's been for the better part of 15 years. Remember Eddie Curry? Drafting busts after busts, and when you actually get it right, your fans boo the one player that you draft and he becomes good. You call him Tingus Pingus. And he's probably one of the best players that your franchise has had in the past 10 years of its sorry existence. We have the same championship drought as you. The difference is you play in the biggest media market next to California. And you have huge money to spend. Like, you're like the Mets. You're like the Wilpon-owned Mets. The fact that your team and your franchise has been run the way that it has been ran, while the Pacers have less money, smaller market, get mistreated at every turn by every NBA official ever, not just on the court, but in their front office, with Adam Silver getting screwed over at every turn, and at the end of the day, we are just as successful as you. You should cry yourself to sleep knowing that. You should be disturbed knowing that. You should go throughout your day saddened at the fact that a team that people say shouldn't even exist because of low attendance numbers from last year, saying we should relocate because there's not a fan base. You're supposed to be one of the crown jewels of professional basketball. And here you are, barely scraping by a Pacers team that should have been tanking and had most of their good players injured. Three players in their starting lineup, and one of the first guys up off the bench, and O'Shea Brissett. And who's the player that turns up on you? TJ McConnell. I love TJ. One of my favorite players that I've ever watched. Love playing him play defense. Or love seeing him play defense. But he's not a guy who should be getting 7 assists, 8 rebounds, and I think like 17 points. Yikes. That is sad. That is the signs of a defense that is defeated. We're having this magical season while you guys have to sit in anguish at the fact that your team that's supposed to be amazing, Jalen Brunson, supposed to be a budding superstar worth all this money that you paid him, and you barely scrape by an injured Indiana Pacers squad. Chef's kiss to this Pacers team. Beautiful performance. You didn't win, but there's still a lot of season left to go. We're barely over the halfway mark. Let's finish this. Come on, we're still in the play-in. we're still good. We can definitely secure a for sure playoff spot in the top 6. Knicks, we're tied with the Knicks. Their only reason they're ahead of us is because they have the tiebreaker. We're what, like 4 or 5 games back at the 76ers? That's easy. We've gone on like 7-game win streaks before. We can do it again. So what? Tyrese is hurt. Let's go. Come on. This is easy. This is Indiana. You know, they want to talk about Heat culture. This is Pacers culture right here. The unsung heroes of professional basketball right here. The guys who keep fighting when everybody has given up on them already. This is a team that represents the state of Indiana and everything that it stands for. This is a team that everybody can get behind and is the reason that Bankers Life Fieldhouse is filled with Pacers fans again, because they have restored hope in this fan base. There are Pacers fans. We're just not going to spend our hard-earned money on a team that sucks. And Herb Simon, despite your mismanagement and despite your mistreatment of this team and your neglect of its franchise and how it's supposed to be ran, it is still thriving, despite everything that has been put in its way. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. How can you not be romantic about this team? See you guys next time. As always, I'm not funny.
Same fucking bitches. Got the chopsticks with extensions on my dick, cause I like that.